Good evening, everyone. We're live. Welcome to TRH again, the Reconnection Hour by Mr. Perfect. It's Thursday, it's 8:30, so it's TRH time. I'm Terry, founder, CEO of Mr. Perfect, as most of you know. What is Mr. Perfect? Well, we bring men together mainly at barbecues to create communities and connection for the betterment of mental health and to reduce isolation. We do that across the country. Right now, obviously, our Victorian barbecues are not running, but the majority of them are running, which is great, with a few guidelines and restrictions in place. And we have plenty more coming as well at the back end of this year. What's TRH? Well, we weekly have an hour to chat to health professionals and other people doing incredible things in the world of connection, men's health, mental health, you name it, just some great people that are usually very community focused and have some incredible organizations that they either work for or they volunteer for or they've created a movement. A quick disclaimer, nothing too formal, but we'll discuss mental health at some stage and whether there's any stories that come up out of that. There may be nothing too gory normally, but just in case there is, just to be prepared for that. This week's been pretty good for us and Mr. Perfect. We have about 22 at the moment barbecue hosts in our kind of recruitment process that I've been chatting to. So clearly there's a demand out there for more of our barbecues running. A little bit of a catch-22 because people are a little bit hesitant with COVID, of course, and how we get them going. But I'm pleased to say there is a demand for what we do and more connection. So it's brilliant. Personally, look, my weeks are never dull, pretty hectic this week, but something that's relevant tonight and discussion we're going to have. I bought some gym gear recently to have at home, some weights and barbell and dumbbells and all sorts of things. And I finally got back into scheduling in my calendar 3 lunch times a week when I've been working at home to get outside and not take my phone out and spend an hour doing some workout. Nothing too strenuous, but it's been amazing for me to get back to that, more mentally than physically. So I'm sure we'll talk about that tonight. I also used to enjoy massively going to the gym with my one of my best friends. Like, we'd have a great chance to chat and catch up there, and that's normally what we do. I don't know how hard we'd go, but it was always good for my head and very relevant tonight because we're speaking with Michael Murphy. So Michael is the founder of Beyond the Barbell. It's a movement that aims to create a safe, welcoming, and enjoyable space where men can come for a workout and benefit from a support network of like-minded men. Very similar to what we do, just with weights. So I'll let Michael explain more. So welcome to TRH, Michael.
How are you? Thank you very much. I'm very well, Terry. Thank you very much for the introduction. Very.
That's all right. I read it off your website. I just copied and pasted it. So you know.
That's all right, but I love it when I hear people have gone out and bought gym equipment and kind of making the most of COVID and stuff like that. So I'm glad you've got something.
Yeah, so I resisted it for so long. I'm a little bit of a cynic. So when I first saw everyone buying it, I was like, no, I'm not going to go and do that. Like, why would I bother spending, I'll just wait until they sell it all on Gumtree in 6 months' time. And then I just got to a point where I couldn't do any longer. And then my work said, well, look, you're probably going to be at home for a while. So I thought, okay, I'll get it. Didn't tell my wife, just bought it. I said, I've got this really great deal. It's worth $1,000. I got it for $500. Got this bench,
fantastic.
Got the barbell and some weights, just standard, nothing fancy. And then I got it all set up and I'm sitting there on my deck and I thought, hold on a minute, how am I going to do a bench press when I haven't got the bar so hang on.
The rack.
So I've had to set up this very like OHS, not very good system where I hook it back onto our couch that we've got on our deck. So hopefully I'll wait to capitate myself doing it. But anyway, no, look, pleasure. Well, thanks for coming on, buddy. I know we've had some limited chat over email, and I think I might have first connected when I did the men's health landscape, or I put together something.
Yes,
and I know guys you're doing. So thank you so much. And look, what we normally do, first question I ask is tell everyone a little bit about you. As big or as small as the stories you like, and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, well, I might start off with just before I get into Beyond the Barbell. It was was probably you, Terry. I listened to a podcast a while ago that you were on and spoke about Mr. Perfect and the barbecue, and I'll be honest with you, it was a little bit of the inspiration of where Beyond the Barbell came from, because I can't cook. I kind of chose something I was good at, and going to the gym was something I was good at. So I thought, well, that's a great way to get guys connected. So first of all, thank you. And you probably don't know, but you did play a pretty big role in Beyond the Barbell. So
love it. That's brilliant.
But yeah, about me, I've been in the fitness industry for over 10 years. As soon as I finished high school, I did my Cert 3 and Cert 4 in fitness, and kind of worked my way around, doing pretty much anything you can do in the fitness industry. I worked at gyms, I worked at weight loss retreats. I recently worked at a rehab hospital where I ran exercise programs for alcohol and drugs and people with mental illness. I ran my own business. I'm based in Melbourne. For you guys out there that don't know, I ran my own business on the beach in Williamstown for 5 years, I facilitated fitness courses. I actually wrote fitness courses as well. And then towards the kind of end of, well, I shouldn't say the end, just recently I kind of transferred more over to strength and conditioning, where I've been lucky enough to kind of work with some national teams, doing some fitness testing with them. I've worked with Olympians. Worked with ice hockey, which a lot of people in Australia don't know. We have a ice hockey league, so with one of the Melbourne teams. And just recently, until COVID hit and everything got shut down in Melbourne, I was working at an AFL club for their seconds team. So doing all their rehab and running them through sessions, which absolutely loved. Took me back to my glory days of playing sport and getting around the guys. So, but I guess that's kind of where the crust of Beyond the Barbell started. Like, it was my background, fitness. And as I kind of alluded to before, I've always kind of looked for like ways to connect. The men's sheds is a great example, but I'm terrible with my hands. I try to make things, but I kind of just make it up as I go and just give it a best shot, but I've never been good at that. And as I said, I wasn't a great cook. So, getting people around for a barbecue wasn't always something that I was good at. So I kind of chose the gym to try and connect guys. So that started late last year. It snowballed really quick. When it started, it was probably an outlet for me a little bit. I was just made redundant from my role, and I have been made redundant before in my career, and it was something that I guess like I felt lost with, not having anything to do. So when I was made redundant this time, I kind of thought I'm going to be proactive, and this is an idea that I've been sitting on for a while. So it kind of turned into a full-time job for a little bit while I was sitting at home, having nothing to do with my big redundancy package. I thought, I'm not in no rush to get a job. I might as well play around with this. So, but I guess to give you a background of where it all started, myself, I'm pretty shy. I'm an introvert. But for some reason, when I was at the gym, I was different. A lot of people would have said I was an extrovert. But yeah, for me, the gym was an escape. It was also like a place I could go. Like most men, I've suffered depression and anxiety for years. And like most men, I didn't want to seek help. I didn't want to go see, a doctor. I didn't want to go see a psychologist. But for some reason, when I went to the gym, like I felt comfortable talking to the other boys about, it wasn't necessarily, hey, look, I've got depression or I've got anxiety. It was, I'm having a really tough time at work at the moment, or, stuff at home's not going great. Like, I just felt comfortable speaking to the guys about it. So it was interesting, the kind of relationships that I had with the guys at the gym. I actually went off and did a bit of a research study. So I went back to university and did a thesis on it. So why people kind of participate in exercise. And we specifically looked at CrossFit. because there seems to be this huge community of CrossFit. You know, there's a lot of people that hate it, but there's it's a whole different world when you're in there. It's just this massive community. So we kind of did a lot of interviews. I think we interviewed up to about 30 people from the gym and tried to find out why is it they're choosing this place to come, to kind of, you know, get to the point where they're throwing up and, you know, crawling out of the gym. And what we found was it was a sense of community. They just loved that sense of community. It's not, I guess for the listeners, it's not, CrossFit's not like a gym where you kind of go put your headphones in and you just do your own thing. It's a class mentality, and everyone does the same thing, whether, you know, the stronger guys will just lift heavier, but at the end of the day, everyone's lifting the same. So it was this sense of community that they loved, absolutely loved. So, you know, this is starting to start to boil now. I've got the research to say people love this sense of community. I've got this thing where, you know, I wanted somewhere to connect. And then I guess towards the end of last year, being made redundant, I also had a friend from the gym I'm currently at now that was struggling with mental health, and I spoke to him about it. He was, I hope he doesn't mind me sharing, but he was an outpatient, and the days that the time he had away from the hospital, like the first thing he wanted to do was come to the gym, just because he felt safe and felt connected. And I thought, this is it. It's time to start something. So yeah, it's interesting. I always have these crazy ideas of what I'm going to run, and my poor wife has to listen to them all the time, going, "Oh, okay, so you're going to take over the world." Another one. But yeah, training and mental health was something I was really passionate about. So it was probably the first time that I can remember that it was, you know, I was up at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night on the computer, just writing up, you know, ideas and reaching out to people and stuff like that, which is something I've never, you know, I've always tried to leave my work at home, my work at work, and, you know, home life at home. So, she got behind me, and we decided that we'd run an event that was going to kind of be our big thing. We were going to run an event. We had a young guy, Cameron Oates, who I used to go to school with. He started a non-for-profit called You Are Right, Mate, after his brother committed suicide. So we got everyone from the gym, and he came in and we had a workout, and then he did a talk about, you know, talking about mental illness. And I guess that's kind of where the whole Beyond the Barbell blossomed from. So from there, we've done a couple more events. So we had former AFL player Tom Downey. He was a GWS giant, so a Sydney boy. He came and spoke about his battles with mental health, and you know, that's something that we're really trying to push, is people sharing their stories, because you'd be surprised, you know, how many people came up to him afterwards and could really resonate with his story about his anxiety and his depression and stuff like that. So that's kind of been something that we've really pushed, you know, coming to the gym and sharing his story. And we had another event planned, but COVID in Melbourne got the best of us, so we had to do it online. So we had former NBA player Chris Anstey, Australian Boomers Olympian, and he was fantastic. He spoke about, again, his battles with mental health, going through divorce, and, you know, playing away from home. And we also had, I like to call him the mental health guru down here in Melbourne, Carl Nelms from Bloke Psychology. He was also on the podcast, on the event with us, and spoke about, you know, mental health. So that was a really, again, kind of having these sports professionals share their story, it kind of makes mental health a lot more real. So from that, we try to get workouts in. Again, with COVID, it's been a bit harder. So we were doing Zoom sessions for a while, just to kind of get guys together.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah. So the plan was once a week to get everyone together, similar to Mr. Perfect with the barbecues. But just as we're about to start, COVID kind of hit. We've been able to get a couple in, and they've been awesome. In the gym, we've got a gym in Fairfield. So the guys from Fairfield, from Northside Fitness in Fairfield, have been awesome. Just let us use their gym whenever we want. So a couple of times we've been in there. We just write up a workout on the whiteboard. We just adjust it for whoever's there. We all go for it. We all get around each other, high fives, fist pumps, and then we have a discussion afterwards just about the last one we spoke about COVID and the positives of it and the negatives of it, and it was really good. People really starting to open up in that environment. But other than that, yeah, it's been online on Zoom, which is hard to do. But it's still a good way to connect. It's still, a really good way for guys to kind of still have that every week to do something. Also during COVID, we've done online workouts. So on our website, we have a list of workouts. So if you're looking for something to do on your back deck with your weights and your dumbbells, we have a list of stuff to do on the website. You can even go onto YouTube, and we have workouts that I've shown how to do them and stuff like that. If people have reached out, we've given them fitness advice, online personal training, help them set goals and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been really, really busy during COVID. I thought everything was going to go really quiet, but we're probably going the opposite way. And then our next one that we're working on at the moment, which I'm really, really proud of, it's called 42 for 42. So it's for the 42 men that lose their life to suicide each week. So yeah, in Australia we have 8 people that lose their life to suicide each week. 6 of them will be men. So that's 42. So we are reaching out to 42 gyms and 42 businesses just to raise awareness of men's mental health and the importance of reaching out if you're not feeling well. So that kicks off next week. We have quite a few gyms, physiotherapies, like naturopaths. Movember's on board, so we're going to do a presentation for them.
Brilliant.
Just talking about men's mental health and why we think it's kind of got to the way it is, and that I guess toxic masculinity around why guys won't open up and talk, and they just live with it, and that old terminology, she'll be right. And what we can do to kind of help that. And then at the conclusion of that, I stupidly agreed to do 42 workouts in a day. So we're going to do them back to back. And then the more I kind of program it, look at it, it's going to take close to 8 to 12 hours of just working out. So
jeez. That is an effort.
So yeah, that's in 3 months' time. It's a fundraiser for Movember. So as I said, they're on board. They're helping out, which has been fantastic. And we're hoping to get about $5,000 from that. So yeah, I probably went on a little bit too long then, but that's what we're doing.
I love it when people talk, man. Like, it's great. It means I don't have to. The more people talk, the more I get things building up. I go, oh yeah, I resonate with that, and I resonate with the story of how you started it. And I was 90% of it. I'm going, it's the same but different. Like, it's
yeah.
I think there's a couple of things that I wanted to ask you though, specifically. The introvert thing is exactly what I say to everyone, and they say, no, you're not. Like, you just say that as I think I know I am, but I use a defense sometimes. And I know I do that sometimes as well. Like, I say, no, I'm not, and for me, I always wonder, was there reasons for me being introverted? Does it affect my mental health? Well, did it have any link to like my character or the way I dealt with things? And I think now, I used to think it did a lot more. Whereas I actually think it's been I use it a bit more of a superpower now to be a bit more thoughtful about things. So hence, thinking about why you wanted to start Beyond the Barbell. I guess my first question was the introvert thing. did you, was there any particular reason you think for that? Like, or was it an upbringing thing? Was it you weren't around a lot of people? Or did it affect your mental health anywhere as a kid or growing up?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've always been a shy one. Like, my parents would say that. I'll tell you a funny story actually. So my extended family, like we catch up at Christmas time and stuff like that, and I never talk. You answer the questions. How's work? Oh, it's good. How's your house going? Oh, yeah, it's good. And I recently, this year, just before COVID hit, I got married. And then obviously, you do your vows and you do your speeches and stuff like that. And my extended family came up and said, we've never in the 35 years you've been alive, we've never heard you speak so much than you have today. So, I've always been shy. And as I got older, it's something that never really sat well with me. Again, because, you've been an introvert, I'd get high levels of anxiety to go out and to know that you have to have conversations and stuff with people. So a lot of the time, I just wouldn't go. So it was probably got the worst 2010. So I moved, for you Victorians, I used to live on the Mornington Peninsula and then moved to the city for university, which is about an hour away. And as soon as I got to the city, I probably went into my shell a lot more. And it was just, because I was shy and an introvert. It was probably only when I started to facilitate that I kind of got a little bit more confidence, because you're up in front of people, you're talking all the time and stuff like that. So, but as I said, it was, in the gym, it was completely different. Like, there was always banter going back and forth, and I was happy to kind of, be that clown and be that person. And then, they asked you to go out for a drink afterwards, and I wouldn't say two words because I'm not in this environment that I'm comfortable with. So
I get it.
It's something that I'm used to now. Even now when we go out, I'm the quiet one in the corner that doesn't really say much. But, get me in an environment where I'm comfortable, the gym, and you can't shut me up.
Well, that's funny you say, because the football was mine. Like, that was my soccer was my. I was a bit of an animal. Well, apparently I still am on the pitch. Like, I was loud, quite aggressive, and I played. But off it, everyone was like, "Oh, you wouldn't even." Like, I barely even squeak, But football was my outlet, and then also not a sporting thing, but writing. Like, so I could write for the life of me and write everything I was thinking and how I would plan something, and I could write to the end of time, a novel about anything. But I couldn't verbalize it, and I couldn't. Same thing at family things. So it's my family, yet I still couldn't. I didn't want to have maybe I didn't want to, but I just couldn't have a full-on conversation. Same thing at my wedding. Did this massive speech, and everyone was like, "What? Like, you just spoke for 20 minutes about all this stuff," and and it just came out. And I said, "Well, actually, when I started Mr. Perfect, I realized." You get me to talk about this or my story or the stories of others and you won't stop me. Like, I don't blush, I don't go red like I used to. I wouldn't have literally like a panic attack. I'll call in sick at work because I had to do a presentation, school, jobs, you name it. I'd do all that and hide and try and just get out the way. I'd hide like best I possibly could. But with this stuff, it's just, that's where I feel comfortable talking about it. And then people, first of all, are taken aback by it, and then it disarms them, and then they go, "Oh wow!" Like, you can feel it when they come up to you one-on-one afterwards, when you've talked or you've done probably exactly what you've done at the events. And I think that the point is, I'm definitely more on the introvert side, but when I'm comfortable with something and I love it, like I could talk all day about it. I think that's the point.
Which is interesting, because it's something that we've really tried, and it'll be good to hear your thoughts on it too. About, like, if I think about myself, like if I hadn't started Beyond the Barbell and something like this came up, how I would going into this new environment. And again, I remember at one of our events, we had a young guy come in, and he was telling us that when he saw the event 3 weeks in advance, he's like, I'm done, I'm doing it, I can't wait to go. And as the event got closer, he's like, I'm not going. It was his partner that said, you need to go. And it was kind of like, once he was there, you know, we all kind of got around him, and, you know, it was, he was welcomed. But it's that kind of, you know, introverts like us taking that first step, which I think, you know, not just for Beyond the Barbell, but just for, you know, seeking that support as well. You know, it's that unknown that these introverts are kind of like, oh, I don't know what to expect, so I'm not going to do it.
And I used to think about it a lot more negatively. So I've done a lot of work with my psychologist over the years now, that he says, like, use that imagination and that creativity for the good. You know, like, it can be really destructive, like with too much thinking, of course, which is a daily thing for me. But I try my best to divert the other way, hence with Mr. Perfect. And I kind of put my energy into that. And you talk about being up at night doing, you know, I was exactly the same. I would finish work, I go, sod this, I'm not doing work at home, right? This is the last thing I would ever do. When I started Mr. Perfect, my wife went noticed, finished dinner, kids in bed, or it was just, when Finn was born. So it started just when my first was born. And then I'd be at my laptop after dinner, and that was it till, like, you know, midnight. Just, even if a lot of it wasn't productive, it was just a lot of planning and research and things. And that became my thing. Like, that's when I had energy. So in the day, maybe 2-3 hours at work, I'm not that, you know, I'm not productive. But then I'd get home and do all the other stuff and find myself having that energy again. And that's when I knew, actually, this is important, or at least it feels important. So it must, you know, I wasn't getting paid for it, I wasn't doing it, you know. So it's amazing. And the other thing I wanted to say was the study you did, I thought it's incredible. So I read that on the website. So it's interesting that you did that. Did you do the study first, you said, and then kind of, you thought, hold on a minute, there's something here. And how did that thought process come about, I guess, to do the study?
To be honest, I kind of fell into it. So, like, I've gone to uni, I did my bachelor's degree, did my master's degree, and I kind of wanted to go, and this was all in strength and conditioning exercise. I wanted to go and do my PhD, which I applied for, and they said, well, we need to see your research background, which I didn't have, so I had to go back and do an honours. And originally I was doing an honours on high intensity interval training and trying to find out what kind of ratios were the best, you know, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, a minute. I kind of got into 2 months of it. I'm just like, I hate this. I can't do this. I actually went, told the head of the honours course and said, look, you know, I'm going to drop out. And he said, no, you know, it's still early in the year. Let's see if we can find you another supervisor. So I kind of went on to the uni website and started looking up the supervisors and what their backgrounds were and stuff like that. And at the time, I was working at the rehab hospital for AAD and stuff like that. And this guy had done a similar project about why people do MMA. And I thought, oh, well, wonder why people do the gym. So I went and spoke to him, and I told him that I do CrossFit. And he goes, perfect. You know, that's what I really want to do. That, let's work together. So I did that, and it probably was towards the end of it. That's when the ideas started to flow about, you know, building that community. And I guess at the start, it was probably selfish reasons why I kind of started the whole Beyond the Barbell, because, you know, it's something I was comfortable with. But yeah, to answer your question, it was an afterthought. So I kind of fell into the whole why people do the gym stuff. And then as I was kind of going through it and researching it and interviewing people, and just the overwhelming of, you know, it's just a community. You know, we also found that a lot of them come from sporting backgrounds, and that was something they missed. It wasn't so much the training, and you kind of touched on it before. It was the sporting environment, that sporting team, which at the end of the day is a community. Which again, for me, you know, growing up, I was basketball, you know, and they were probably the only mates I had were from basketball. So, you know, if you kind of go down the wormhole a little bit, you know, they're from the sporting background, team sports, they kind of want that feeling again as they got a bit older. And then this sense of community. A lot of them said, you know, their best friends are from the gym. You know, people have had, you know, their best man, bridesmaids from the gym. I've actually seen people get married in the gym, which is crazy. But I showed my wife that one. She goes, "Don't you dare think we're going to get married in the gym." But each to their own. So it was kind of an afterthought. But the good thing was when I started Beyond the Barbell, like I had all this research to go, well, exactly. It's supported. It's there's evidence to say that there's importance of having this place where guys can come and meet.
So I was particularly intrigued by that because the reason being, when we started Mr. Perfect, I started it just on these hunches, right, or these experiences, going to the doctor, finding out, here's medication, here's a specialist. Okay, there's no social aspect to that. Asking doctors I knew about it, and they said, yeah, that's pretty much what we do. Then speaking to mates and realizing, well, we really got our kind of community from football and soccer, and being together at that for a couple of hours, and then that morphed into the barbecues. Reading a Beyond Blue November joint report saying men's social connections over 30 just went like that, like the amount of times they saw people. So if you have a regular event or once a week gym you can go to or something, at least you're, regardless of what you're doing there, like you're getting out as well. And then what happened over time was someone said to me, a psychiatrist I know said to me, "Oh, do you think it would be a good idea if you did, do you mind if I do a study about what you're doing?" And I said, "No, absolutely, like you're the best person to do this." And he's already started this. So it's in process now. And it's a long, long process because he has a lot of other obviously things on his plate as well. But he's bringing together some great people and a research student and whatever to do a study of why, these gatherings create that community and connection. I'm sure the findings would be very similar, or the surveys would be similar. And that made me go back and go, hold on a minute, like an afterthought, let me do a bit of research. But it took me 5 minutes, and I found stuff in Psychology Today and then this US sort of journal that talked about like actual barbecues, why they were good for mental health. I thought, oh, hold on, like, there is something there for this. And then it got me really thinking again, like proper geeking me, and I was looking at Aboriginal, Indigenous, Native American Indians, like Native Americans, how they use the barbecue or the fire as that community gathering point, and that it wasn't so much the food or what they were doing on the thing, like it was just that was the thing. So yeah, it's amazing. That's what I was intrigued by that. There's something about it. Like I say it to everyone now, don't stress too much about the barbecue and the food. And like the barbecue hosts, it's not about that. It's that you're providing that space for them to go. It's a bonus if we get, you have the food and you have a chat, and then you have a chat afterwards, and then before you know it, it's another half an hour and you're having this brilliant connection with someone, or you've got a little bit off your chest. And we found it with the football when we started. We put an ad on Gumtree and meetup.com for 2 hours for a kick around. This is how Mr. Perfect started. And we kicked a football for 2 hours in the sun, all different sizes, ages, abilities. And we sat down exhausted afterwards, probably like you guys do, and had the best chat for half an hour. Like guys I didn't even know, like, we're all, a few of us quite shy as well, and just talking about anything and everything. And one of them just went, I don't remember the last time I did anything like this. And that was like the little ding, ding, ding. Like we were like, hold on, there's something here. And then that morphed into one way the football team and one way the barbecues. So yeah, clearly we did know then something was there, but yeah, so simple.
Well, that's interesting because like that's kind of what we put. A lot of people, and again, we try to go away from CrossFit because when people hear CrossFit, they go, "There's no way I can do it." But a lot of people kind of see some of the videos of us in the gym and stuff like that, and they're like, "There's no way I can do that." And we're the same. It's not about the working out. Like it's a part of it, but it's what you do in between sets. You always partner up, and you're spotting on the bench, and in between, how's work going, or how are you coping with COVID, or how are the little ones going, and it's those kind of interactions in between which we find are really important. Because as I said, kind of early, people, especially men, don't come out and say, "Hey, look, I feel depressed," and it's kind of, they give you pieces of the puzzle that you need to put together to go, well, hold on a minute, Terry's not right at the moment. He's a couple of times he's talked about work, he's talked about troubles with the kids sleeping, and his job's he might lose his job. And we kind of, you try to put the pieces to puzzle to go, all right, well, let's reach out to him a little bit more, send him a text message. And, I know from, my gym kind of guys, buddies, that we've got a group chat, and, 95% of it's absolute banter.
Yeah.
But, there's that 5% of how you going with COVID, and, how's your work adapting and stuff like that? Or we saw this on the news. Is that affecting you? So there's still that kind of element of, connecting through just to make sure or the boys are all right and stuff like that. So yeah, we've had the same kind of issue. People going, I don't know, I won't be able to keep up. I'll just come and watch the workout. You go, yeah, the workout's probably 10% of what we do.
Exactly.
It's, the last workout we were allowed to have before we went into lockdown again, we were, the workout went for an hour. We kind of had this interactive workshop for half an hour. Then we sat around for an hour having a beer. And that was probably the best part of it, where people have this opportunity. Again, you don't have to say, oh, I've got high levels of anxiety and, I don't want to go to a therapist. It's, I'm struggling because, I play footy and I can't play at the moment because of COVID. So, and then you can kind of build on that.
We do the same after our games on the weekend. It's great. And you just mentioned exactly what we do. Like, we sit there, someone brings the beers, is nominated to bring it, and then the football's great. Like, we enjoy it, but we get off and then we all just sit around, and then inevitably the chat comes, like talking about kids, or so-and-so's sick, or they're going through a divorce, or those little bits come out in those little one-on conversations, and then I walk away from that feeling $1 million, even if there's been some tricky stuff discussed or whatever. At least those guys know, like, you can't. We remind the same thing in the WhatsApp group. 90% is just pure ridiculousness constantly, and then there's that little bit of someone has just had a baby, or they're struggling with something, or they need something, move the house, or whatever. Or during a couple of the, during COVID, a couple of people lost some work and like contracting and stuff, so they have to. Those are the things where everyone's rallied around and went, "Oh, mate, I'll help you. Like, don't worry," And suddenly you've got that support. And that's what it's about. I think it's amazing. But one question I was thinking really that's always plays in my mind, I say, like, it's the vehicle, right? So we choose the barbecues to do what we do, but also there are other things that help me. Having a coffee with a mate, having a beer with a mate, doing, there's all those other things that people do. It's not necessarily just sport. How do you find, especially experience of the people coming, I guess your advice or tips or even experiences on how do you divert them more towards the gym than going out and getting leathered in the pub, or getting, or because I love having a beer with my mates and having a couple, and then I feel like we have a really good chat. I did it on Sunday night for the first time in like 6 months with a very good friend of mine, and we both texted each other afterwards, said, "Mate, I was like really needed that." But we just had, 3 beers and then we went home. But they're the nights where it's over and I go out on a big one, and it's chaos for me. I know I'm doing it because of my anxiety, my depression. Like, it's the worst the next day. And it's my own fault. It's terrible. I shouldn't do it. And it knocks me out for half the week. How do you divert people away from, do you ever have that discussion with people, or have you noticed people try how to choose to destructive things?
Yeah, I guess, using my own lived experience and knowing how much the gym has helped me. But again, like, there's an abundance of research about the exercise and mental health and how it plays such a role in it. So I guess there's a lot of kind of education around that. I guess I'm also lucky in my background that I've trained a variety of people. From weight loss to athletes to, people who just want to get stronger, to the people that want their 6-pack for summer. So you can kind of adapt what we do to whoever comes. So there's probably a lot of education around it to say, you explain, like, as you said, you go out on a massive bender, and for the next 4 days, probably feeds into your moods because you can't do anything. I don't know, that's for me. Like, even now, like, you know, I have 6 beers, like I'm a write-off for the next day. You know, got my head in the toilet, and then it takes me to, like, I'll do that on Saturday, and then by Wednesday, like, I'm starting to feel a bit better. You know, that again, that's ruined my whole week, which puts me in a down mood again, because I'm like, you know, you have this regret and stuff like that. So, as I kind of mentioned before, the hardest bit for us is to get people through the door.
Of course.
But what we've found is once they're there, they love it, which I'm sure is the same, you know. And it's funny you bring it up, because I remember on the podcast, you talked about how, you know, people struggle to come, and one of the reasons why you wanted to do outdoor barbecues is for people to walk past so they can see what it is, and if they feel comfortable, they'll come up. For us, it's a little bit different because we're in a gym, so you actually have to come in the door, and so, but we feel like once they're in, they love it. And the feedback we get after an event, after, you know, a workout, is unbelievable, and they're like, I can't believe I didn't start this earlier. So it's a lot about education. I try to do my best to put as much out there on social media as possible. I learned that in my PT days, personal training days, that trying to sign a new client, they want to know what you do. So the more content you have out there to say, this is what we do, a lot more people feel comfortable. I know that's for me. If I'm going to try something new, like, I feel like, you know, at the Microsoft head office, breaking into, you know, stalking, you know, these companies and finding out what they do and what they've been tagged in, and say, you know, pretty much know the lay of the land before I walk in. So yeah, it's tricky to get the people through the door, but we find once they're in, they absolutely love it. And, you know, people have, you know, because our workouts have been on Sundays, people have said, you know, I didn't have a drink last night because I knew this was coming up, and I wanted to do it. You know, by no means are we kind of preaching this healthy lifestyle, but, you know, so we'll have a beer afterwards, but, you know, all the snacks that we have, they're all, you know, healthy. We have, luckily, one of our biggest supporters is one of my gym buddies. She owns a naturopath, Sisu Botanicals, and she does everything vegan, gluten-free. Like I've always been like unsure about vegan food and stuff like that. I'm like, you know, it's just carrots and hummus, but she does it, mate. Like, she brought in sausage rolls the other day, and I swear, if you didn't know, you'd be like, oh, these are the, you know, the best sausage rolls you've ever had, and they're all vegan. So you know, like, we also kind of, like, again, we don't preach healthy eating and stuff like that, because, you know, my wife will be the first one to tell you that I love a hamburger and a pizza and stuff like that. But yeah, we're just trying to get people to come in, and once they're in, they're just a part of the family, and they love it.
It's brilliant, because I think that's what, again, what we try and do. Like, there's no preaching. It's come and enjoy it. If you you know, just come to the first one, and that is the hardest thing to get people to come to these things. Like, as you will know, and we've had a couple of recently where we started new ones, and COVID here, and then trying to get people to that interest again. Like, we get a load of people on Facebook, 50 people saying they're coming or interested, and we had a couple where, like, literally no one turned up, and people get a bit disappointed. I said, mate, it took me a year in Surrey Hills in Sydney to get 10 people to come to my barbecue. So, and that was literally turning up some of the most awkward first couple, like one person, there's two of us, and then we just went, nah, we're doing it because we're saying we're here for 2 hours, like, regardless of who turns up and drops in. And eventually, you know, it clicks, and you build that community, and then someone else brings a friend, and then it doesn't, you know, numbers for us, it wasn't about having 50, but it was about having enough there that it's intimate enough that people feel, they don't feel threatened. But so yeah, the hardest thing is getting them there, and once they're there, I think they understand. It's almost, I can see their shoulders drop, I always say, by the end, or some people I do, where they've, even if they said nothing, like, they've just gone away afterwards and thought about it. And I've left people at the barbecue on the 2 hour point, and they're still chatting, you know, half an hour later, and that's the best sign that they've actually got out and had some connection with someone for that day. So it's great that, I think that little bit you said at the end, like the simple format of, and then we sit around and chat, that part is just gold, because you kind of, eased them into that, like the soft entry into that. You haven't just sat in there in a room and gone, right, tell me a story, like face to face, you know, one on one. So it's brilliant. But what do you think? I guess what has Beyond the Barbell taught you about men in general and our ability to? Well, no, just what has it taught you about men? Yeah, generally.
It's interesting, man. Like when I think about it, we're all the same. Like you kind of, you know, in the past, you know, because I've, you know, always been that gym person and, you know, the shaved head, and usually I've got a beard, but the masks in Melbourne are really itching. So I had to get rid of it and just leave the stash. You know, so I had this kind of, this look of being this big, tough and, you know, intimidating guy that goes to the gym and throws his weights around and stuff like that. So people kind of just assume that I don't have any, you know, issues. I'm, you know, loving life, married, got a house. But at one of our events, I actually got up and I shared my story, you know, about how Beyond the Barbell. And so many people came up afterwards and were like, I had no idea. Like, I can resonate with you. Like, I felt that. And what we found is, like, you know, a lot of the guys that, you know, you wouldn't think, we've got so many things in common and similarities about how we think. And so there's kind of this idea about men having to put on this big persona of being big and tough. And I'm actually talking to my colleagues about it the other day, this, you know, the pressures of being this big, tough man all the time. What we found is, you know, we go to the gym and we kind of all want the same thing. We all want to be able to share how we're feeling, but we just need that one person to go first. So for our event, it was me. Like, I just got up and it was quite nerve-wracking. It was probably there was about 50 people there, and my dad and my sister were in the crowd as well. And it was the first time that I'd kind of opened up about, you know, my mental health and how much I struggled and how bad it got, and, you know, the consequences of that. And then I was so surprised with the amount of text messages and phone calls and the people come up afterwards, like, you know, now that they want to share their story, which is, you know, something we try to do. We've got, I'm terrible at videos and editing and stuff like that, but we tried to start like a video of barbell conversations where people can actually share their stories. And that's what we've kind of found, that, you know, we all think we're this big, tough man, but at the end of the day, like, we do want to share our emotions and we do want to share our stories. And yeah, in the gym, we've been able to give people the platform to do that. And as I said, like, you know, you get the biggest, scariest looking guy walking into the gym and he's exactly the same. You give him an opportunity and he's happy to share his story. So I guess that's probably one thing that I've found, that we're a lot more alike than people think. Guys just need a platform to do it. And it's kind of programs like yours and Beyond the Barbell where we give them that platform to feel comfortable to say, all right, well, I'll talk about my emotions. And yeah, sometimes you just kind of need that leader to take control of it. So yeah, I guess that's probably the biggest thing that I've taken away from men in the group.
Do you ever have to see more? I think about it the last year. I've thought about it a lot more. The kind of next stages of where we're at generally. And this is, I'm quite a skeptical person anyway, but you know, it's ironic I'm doing this, but I'm doing it because I saw a need here. But I feel we've got to this point. This is my own view. We've got to this point now where we're a lot more comfortable talking about it, or at least addressing it or listening to others talk about it. And maybe we're not there right yet in the skills of how to do it. Not everyone, because I know it's not always great to tell everyone just talk and tell your story, because if you've never done it and then you do it and it's not done in a safe way, it can be, I've seen it in a lot of Facebook groups and all sorts of things. That worries me a little bit, just because I'm around it and I know doctors tell me about the pitfalls of that. So I feel like we're getting there. Like, we've moved this massive shift, to be fair. Like, it's it's been a big shift with a lot of work, the sort of work we're doing and other groups are doing. But I'm also thinking now we're in this kind of limbo bit where it's like, how do we, I think it's more the next step of education and training and maybe mentorship. And that's where I kind of see it, where it's at. What do you think about that? Like, what's the next stage for you, do you think? Like, how does Beyond the Barbell play a part in it, or do you want to play a part in that?
Yeah, it's well, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. It's about education, and that's something we're in the process of working through. That kind of next generation of kids coming through, and it's, you know, well, I'm 35 now, but just the way I was brought up, you have this kind of idea of what a man is, that big tough, you know. I joke about it at work. I've never changed a car tire and I've never used a chainsaw. And I kind of feel like it's emasculating for me not to be able to do that, just because I remember growing up, you know, that's what Dad did. That's what my dad did, you know. The tire needs fixing. I'll call RACV and go, mate, like, I'd give it a crack, but it's a tire. I'll probably, you know, put it on wrong and hurt myself. Or so I think it's around this education about, you know, kind of redefining what it is to be a man. Like, you know, we don't have to hide our emotions. We don't have to, you know, have this tough guy persona. And we are working on workshops at the moment to kind of deliver, not so much to high school, but more to your kind of TAFEs and universities about, you know, it's okay if you want to cry, if you want to hug your mate, if you want to talk about your feelings. Again, you know, we look at ourselves as a preventative program as opposed to a cure. So we make it clear that if you are going to share your story and stuff like that, we just want to hold the space. So we're not actually going to say anything. We're big on just holding the space. So you've got, you know, however long it is to share your story. You know, we've obviously, like as you did at the start, we've got disclaimers and we have people that we refer to and stuff like that. But you know, we try to make that clear with them, like, it's a safe space to share your story, but we're not psychologists, we're not counsellors and stuff like that. And we, you know, myself and the other gentleman, Luke, who run these sessions, you know, we just try to facilitate it and just give them a safe space to talk, as opposed to saying, oh, you know, oh, did you think about trying to do this or try to do that? Or do you think that's, you know, because we don't know that. You know, we don't know the full story. So it's kind of, we'll just hold the space. So, you know, we run workshops about, you know, ways to hold space and, you know, those questions that you ask to kind of get them to open up a little bit more. You know, we're really big on, you know, having a comfortable environment. So, you know, for most of the guys, it is the gym, as opposed to, you know, just confronting them face to face and saying, hey, look, you seem like there's something wrong. So, you know, we're big on kind of educating guys, and especially the younger generation or the younger guys, about, you know, this, you know, in the old days, yeah, you know, that's what men did, and that's how they were brought up. You know, their fathers went to war and they were told to have that stiff upper lip. But, you know, things have changed, we've evolved, and it's, you know, it's okay. And I think it's a lot more destigmatized now, you know, because we're talking about it. Like, you know, perfect example is, you know, we've been speaking for the last 50 minutes about mental health, and you know, I've kind of opened up, said you know, an introvert, I'm shy, and so have you. So I think that we are destigmatizing men's health, but I still think there's a lot of problem about this toxic masculinity that, for some reason, there's just a little bit of a roadblock that we can't get past. So I think a lot of education and you know, allowing people to share their stories, and then hopefully it's a flow-on effect that people kind of see, oh, well, you know, this footballer shared his story, Lance Franklin shared his story, so it's similar to mine, maybe it's okay for me to share mine. So I think we're getting there, but yeah, a lot more education kind of needs to go out there.
Absolutely. And that's it. I definitely don't ever put it down on it. I think the way we've, I'd say last maybe 5 years, just been mind blowing. Like, it's kind of when I'm 36, when I was 30, and then I first like told people about, you know, me and my kind of story. That was like, I couldn't stop there. And once I'd done it, like, cat was out the bag kind of thing. And it was like, well, I ain't going back. So
it's liberating, isn't it?
Yeah, it was unbelievable actually, thinking about it now. Ridiculous, like the thought process that went in before what I thought the reactions would be and what they were. Like, never had anyone say anything negative, touch wood, to this day. So it's been amazing. Like, it's incredible. And I think that's where we're at. Like, our initiatives are a nice soft, I call it a soft entry, and like get people into the space so that they do feel a bit more comfortable. And for some, that's all they need, to come for every week or however long it is to a workout. Like, that's all they need. They just needed that sense of community to keep on track, and like to know that if something does go shit, they've got a bit of an outlet. For others, it's more of it might be that they come and go, well, actually, maybe I need that next step, and they can start to navigate through the system instead of doing what I did, was like thrown in at the other end and then kind of work my way back and then back up again. So it's like, you know, working it all out. It was like, I don't want people to do that. And they shouldn't. They shouldn't feel like they have to now, with all the resources and support there is around incredible things like you're doing. But look, I think we're almost up, but I'd love for you to tell everyone where they can find out more about what you're doing, what's next, and any socials they can follow, website, everything else.
Yep. So a website which I manage, and if you jump on, you'll see that I'm not a web developer. It is beyondthebarbell.net.au. That has a little bit about ourselves. It's got workouts in there. It's got links to our YouTube page, which has exercises and different workouts you can do. It has all the initiatives we're doing, so it has all the details for 42 for 42. So if any of the listeners out there want to get involved with their business, so we're kind of doing it. You know, for some, it'll just be with the business owner that we can kind of give them some resources. For others, I've actually got a gym booked in where I'm going to do the class with them and then discuss afterwards about, you know, men's mental health and getting help. So that's all on the website. Then we're pretty active on Instagram. That's probably our main one to use. So that's Beyond the Barbell INC, where we've got everything. It's got links to all our web pages, our YouTube pages as well. On Facebook, it's Beyond the Barbell 1, the number 1, and that's linked to everything as well. So that's got most of it. As I said, Instagram's probably our biggest kind of platform where we put what we're doing, videos. We're doing a bit of a series now of my training for my 42 workouts in 3 months. So a lot of footage of me just sprawled out on the ground, wondering what I'm doing. I'm very lucky. You can probably see in the background, I actually have a gym at home.
I thought you just moved that across deliberately for the video.
No. If I flipped it around the other way, I've got bikes and rollers, I've got dumbbells, I've got kettlebells. It's it's not being a drinker. I spend all my money on gym equipment. My wife hates it because every week there's something on the doorstep that I've bought. Website, Instagram, Facebook, we're all there. YouTube, we have, you know, a lot of videos. As I said before, we have barbell conversations where we let guys kind of tell their stories. So, find us there, reach out.
You've inspired me to check out, because I got my hour tomorrow at lunch booked in for my workout. So I'm 100% going to check out the YouTube now. I find it's really hard because I go to do these things and I'm quite organized and if I don't have something set for me to do at that time, I tail off in the workout and I just kind of don't do what I should be doing. So it's good. I need things like that. I do it with a yoga one as well, which my body's not very flexible. So I've been using this great guy, Sean Beek. It's hilarious videos. He does these very good stretching videos. And I need something like that. So tomorrow I'll be checking that out. But I will also share everything you just mentioned as well in our groups and everything else on the socials so everyone can check it out. And thank you so much for coming on. I think it's unbelievable. Really resonated with me, as you can tell. yeah, same vibe of what we're trying to do, create that community and connection, be that soft entry for people, and providing them that outlet. I think it's incredible, mate, and hopefully we'll get to meet at some stage when everyone can travel. I had all these Melbourne trips booked in just before, like March, everything. So I'll be doing that next year. So I'll come say hello and we can do a workout.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you very much for having me on, Derry. As I said at the start, you were a big inspiration for Beyond the Barbell when I heard you on the podcast. So thank you very much. It's a long-time follower, so very privileged to be a part of tonight.
Pleasure, mate. Pleasure's all mine. All right, take it easy, everyone, and we'll see you next week on TRH again. Cheers, Michael.
Thank you.